The Madden 25 ratings are out, and oddly enough, they tell the future of the Arizona Cardinals as I see it. What do I mean? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Come in, Locked On Cardinals. Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner _. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on. Everydayers, if you've been with me since my first show in 2017, now going into my 8th season. If you listen to me on radio before then, thanks for hanging out. If this is your first listen to Locked On Cardinals, thanks for being here, taking some time out of your day. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. So, Cardinals play Indy tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to do the final segment on what we can expect, what we hope to see, and things surrounding the game. I think one segment's plenty. There is a much more fun thing to discuss today than that, and I'm going to be tying it into real-life football and not just that of a video game. I don't really talk about Madden ratings a lot. I just saw the ratings for some specific players that the Arizona Cardinals tweeted out this morning. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is like a Slumdog Millionaire situation. It's like, I know this lines up exactly with exactly what I've been talking about this offseason. So with that, I'll be breaking down Budda Baker and James Conner's ratings and what that means and what it should mean. Will Hernandez rating, interestingly enough, what that should mean. And then Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. can be grouped together because they have one very similar attribute as pertaining to what hopefully will happen in the 2024 season. So again, go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, man. Happy that you're here. If you want to go leave a review with Apple Podcasts, Google Play, cool. I went over and looked at them. Like, I don't care about ratings. I don't. I'm happy you're here. I believe in my product. The 1-star ratings that I would get from fans of other teams, or that there were too many, like, it's wild. So if you want to help me boost that up, cool. If not, I'm just happy that you're here. So we're gonna do this entire first segment about Budda Baker and James Conner. Okay, so Budda Baker has a 90 rating in Madden for 25. And Budda Baker is James Conner is an 83 rating. So if you've listened to this show once or twice over the last couple months, I guess you could say over the last couple of years, you very well know my stance on Budda Baker and James Conner. I think they should both return Arizona Cardinals next year. And the reason why I think that is not just for the leadership aspect, not just for the cohesion aspect, not just for the loyalty aspect. And we're not saying, handing out big contracts just to be loyal. That's not what I'm saying. This isn't a Larry Fitzgerald situation. But neither of these guys are going to have to carry the load like they have over the last couple seasons. And they'll be paid accordingly. Budda Baker, why did the Madden rating tell the future? A 90. He's better than people give him credit for. He's not picking balls off. He's not, he's not a guy that has 7 or 8 sacks in the safety position this season. Budda Baker is the glue of this defense. Budda Baker has been the glue of this defense, and Budda Baker has been the stopgap between a bad cornerback room and allowing 100 touchdowns a year. Not directly, and that's obviously some hyperbole. And you'll partner in Jalen Thompson with this. Jalen Thompson had a pretty high rating. I think it was 82. But he's going to be with the team. He's younger. It's a different conversation for a different day. So telling the future as pertaining to Budda Baker, every single team in the NFL who doesn't have a shorn up safety position will be calling Budda Baker's phone, his agent, if he becomes a free agent. And that should tell you something. Now, if he wants 30, if he wants bonkers top 3 safety money, we're having a different conversation. But you look at Jesse Bates and Jeffrey Simmons, like, they're signing 1-year or 2-year deals. And that's exactly what the Cardinals should be doing. A 90 rating, although video game, tells the future for what I think the Arizona Cardinals should do with Budda Baker come year's end, even though I'm kind of in the minority there. And I don't do things to be different. I just look at the team. I look at how important he's been. I look at how much of an impact he still makes, how much he still loves the game of football in Arizona. If he really wanted out, that requesting a trade, they would have had to trade him or he would have held out. Depending on how the money lines up, it should be an absolute no-brainer to re-sign him for a 2-year deal after this year. And the Madden ratings mirror that. James Conner, 83 in Madden. It's like, well, he's not a 91. He's not even a top 10 ranked running back. Exactly. You know how things just kind of funnel to you, where somebody says the exact thing that's going to jettison and plummet their argument or their take on something, their stance on something, and it just filters right to you? That's this. Just like Budda Baker, and even more so because it's a running back position, one that the Cardinals have been able to, master is the wrong word, have been able to keep above average for years on end now. James Conner doesn't need to touch the ball 30 times anymore. And we'll see. 2024 will be very telling. If he misses half the year, we're going to have a different conversation potentially. May even benefit the Cardinals more in the long run, contractually, not on the field. James Conner's not a top 5 running back in this league. James Conner is an elder statesman of that group, okay? He's now got not only Kyler Murray's legs, but also Trey Benson and Michael Carter and Amari DiMarcado. Whatever form or fashion that running back room is going to look like, he doesn't need to be that bona fide RB1, which would mean he doesn't need to garner the bona fide RB1 money. So the number for James Conner, it's not an 87. It's not a 76. It's right where you want it to be able to give him a 2-year deal with $8 million guaranteed to stay on the team. It makes perfect sense. It's serendipitous with the Madden ratings and what I've been preaching on this show for a long time. Preaching's maybe screaming out of my big dumb face is my version. Makes total sense. And just like Budda Baker, in a different sense, because obviously they play different sides of the ball, different positions, 30 teams will be asking for James Conner's services if the Cardinals let him go. That should tell you enough. Money's got to work out. James Conner is one of the most important people in this locker room, on the field, leadership-wise. It means something. And he can be in a perfect spot. If Trey Benson does take that leap, like, oh, it's not going to be a situation where the Cardinals don't need James Conner anymore because Trey Benson had a pretty good rookie season. Unless James Conner, knock on wood, goes down in week 2 and Trey Benson has 1,500 all-purpose yards and 10, 12 touchdowns, we could have a different conversation. My hope of hopes, and everydayers, you'll know this, I want James Conner to be the LeGarrette Blount of this team. Inside the 10, milking clock when you're up 10 going into the 4th, and letting Trey Benson do it between the 20s. And that would be what an 83 rating would do with a young back who the Cardinals took in the 3rd round come 2025. I just think it makes too much sense to me. Now, Will Hernandez, Trey McBride, and Marvin Harrison Jr., what are their ratings with Madden 25? Tell about the future that I've been proclaiming should happen. We'll discuss it next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by the Game Time app. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in pricing, views from your seat. If you haven't been to a specific baseball stadium, let's say you want to go to Chase Field and you haven't sat in a specific section or row or whatever it is, you want to sit in the outfield, you want to sit in dead center, around dead center field, around the pool, or right field around the pool, and you're like, well, I don't know what the seats are going to look like, so I don't want to spend my money before I see, what I'm going to be looking at. You can do it with the Game Time app. It makes it super easy, and it takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets. with Major League Baseball with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account or redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price. Guaranteed. Madden 2025 ratings tell the future as I see it for the Arizona Cardinals. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on. Budda Baker and James Conner, it's fascinating to me that everybody thinks they're just going to walk. And maybe they will. I mean, crazy things have happened. It's not just a loyalty thing where it's like, oh, they've been here, so you must pay them market value. That's not what it is. Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr. will be put on ice here for a second. Will Hernandez has been one of the standout, stable employees of the Arizona Cardinals who happens to wear shoulder pads and a jersey on Sundays on game day. Brought over from the Giants on a one-year deal a couple years ago. He was shaky out of the gate. And a lot of that had to do with Rodney Hudson not being there, and it was a Sean Harlow, Max Garcia experience. And the right tackle, whether it was Kelvin Beachum or somebody else, it wasn't great. So while the new face may got the Cardinals brought over this right guard that isn't really playing well. Now that they've shown up the center position, Paris Johnson Jr. played fine last year, playing out of position, out of his natural position of left tackle, playing right tackle last year. He's gotten better incrementally every year. And it's just another, it was a good Steve Keim signing, and it was something that when you look back, it's like, wow. Now with the offensive line, it's like, what would you do without Will Hernandez? Now he's not, a perennial all-pro, but he's an 80 rating. And that shows for the future that this offensive line is getting better and better every year. And this is going to be the best offensive line the Arizona Cardinals have had with Kyler Murray as quarterback. And I mean, it's again, they're not going to win, highest rated offensive line. This is a process. And while, yes, Monty Osborne has been slower on the uptake with the offensive line specifically, he made a bold move, traded back up to draft Paris Johnson Jr. We will see this year. This is going to be it. And they've also got contingency plans now. If for some reason Paris Johnson Jr. isn't cutting it and they have to move him back to right tackle, Jonah Williams has played many snaps at left tackle. Yalta Froholt has been great. And, we'll see what happens with left guard position, which is the toughest position the Cardinals have to deal with on the offensive line. Reports out of the joint practices are that the offensive line is struggling against the Colts. The Colts front is one of the best in football, but still, this is going to become kind of a reality where the Cardinals over-under is 6.5 for a reason. People's expectations of playoffs or bust is unfounded and, frankly, extremely lofty to the point of questioning reason, tied to it. But what is telling the future, though, regarding the Madden rating is this is the best offensive line that Kyler Murray's had. So just because it's not going to be potentially a top 5 offensive line, that doesn't mean that Kyler Murray won't be able to leverage the talent that is there to be able to maximize the potential of the offense. And this is going to be a run-first offense anyways, and they were gangbusters against the run last year, or, blocking for the run last year. We'll see what happens with Paris Johnson Jr., but with Will Hernandez, it's just he's been a very, very pleasant surprise from the right guard position. Now he's got some players around him where he can just do his job and not have to overcompensate for, lackluster center play or lackluster right tackle play. And hopefully he can continue to improve and get better and have a higher rating in Madden 26, but 80's pretty damn good. So the final two, the young gentleman with the highest ceiling out of any players on this team. Trey McBride, 82. Marvin Harrison Jr., 79. Why this is telling the future, and this is the easiest one, but I'm going to group it in. Why the hell not? It's my damn podcast. Well, I host this podcast, not mine. David Law. Techno. But I host it. That's what I mean. This is the easy one. This is time for Trey McBride to solidify himself as a bona fide tight end one in this league, a top 10 tight end one in this league. He wasn't in the top 10 in the ratings. You've got Travis Kelce and George Kittle and Sam Laporta and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's time. It's the perfect offense. They got a great run game, good run game. The wide receivers on the outside are some of the most eclectic group of guys that the Cardinals have had in a while, all the way from Marvin Harrison Jr. down to Greg Dortch. It's crazy, wide receiver 1 to wide receiver 4. You've got veteran talent in there with Zay Jones. It's time for Trey McBride to pop. Also, with Tip Raymond coming over through the draft out of Illinois, great blocking tight end. And I've discussed this a bunch, but Trey McBride's comp coming out of Colorado State was George Kittle. Great blocking tight end, great route runner, great hands, can run over pretty much anybody. And now, imagine Trey McBride not having to chip at the line. Imagine him playing more of what I've used as the Jimmy Graham role, where he doesn't have to block as much. That unlocks so much more possibility. On top of, them drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. to keep defenses honest. Pivoting to the young man wearing number 18 was a 79 rating, okay? Both of these guys grouped together this is the year for explosion onto the scene for them in different ways. Obviously, one's a rookie, one's going into his third year, who's shown flashes from the end of his rookie season to all of last year to now it's time. Marvin Harrison Jr., while, as I've stated multiple times in my opinion, doesn't have a whole lot of pressure on him early on to produce. This offense will be a top 20 offense, would be a top 20 offense without him. And everything that we've seen, every morsel of when he's running routes on the field, it looks effortless. He's juking Indianapolis Colts CB1s out of their shoes. This could be incredibly special with Marvin Harrison Jr. on the outside. And while I was a huge proponent, of trading back, and I still think that if they were to have traded back, they may have been in a better position initially or immediately than drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. I believe that. This is going to be one of the most fun seasons in the history of the Arizona Cardinals. And two of the top 1%er reasons are Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. And it's going to be incredibly fascinating to see how it all plays out. First things first, preseason, week 2 in Indy. What are we looking for? What should we be focusing on watching that game tomorrow night? I'll discuss as we wrap up here on a Friday edition of Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board, man. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So, preseason week 2, Indy. Couple things. I said for a segment yesterday, I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. should play. Doesn't need reps. He's going to be able to ease in to his NFL game. The inner team, the joint team practices are plenty. I don't think he needs to play. So I'm going to take with that, and we don't, as I'm recording this, we don't know who will play and who won't. But there are three main things that I'm focusing on here for Saturday in Indianapolis. In no particular order, because they're all incredibly important. One, the offensive line. This is where we really start to see who cannot be trusted playing meaningful snaps. It's a negative slant on it, but go with me here. So it's something that, like, if Elijah Wilkinson continues to get burned, whatever position he's playing, it might just be time to put him third on the depth chart, and that'll be it. Have him be a rotational piece. What Isaiah Adams can be with a left tackle that isn't Elijah Wilkinson. Because, listen, we've seen enough, sample size from Elijah Wilkinson. I wonder if Paris Johnson Jr. is going to play. I don't know if it's going to be Kelvin Beachum. I don't know we don't know yet. But what I hope to see is a left tackle who could play meaningful snaps at left tackle, so we could see Isaiah Adams just play left guard. Even though it looks like Evan Brown's going to get the nod, I want to see the rookie play meaningful snaps with somebody where he can just play left guard and not have to worry about two positions. So the offensive line is massively important, obviously, because, say it with me now, if you can't protect Kyler Murray, none of this is going to work. So that's one. Okay? Two is the pass rush. This is going to be the toughest position to watch in 2024. While I've said, and I stand by this, the cornerback room is going to be the position that's most directly correlated to wins and losses, especially with the quarterbacks and wide receivers the Cardinals are playing against, especially early on. 3 especiallys. But if Xavier Thomas can replicate what he did last week, and if we can see Darius, and I know Darius Robinson didn't line up on a traditional edge last week in his 11 snaps. It'll be interesting to see where they line up if they try him on the edge this week, or if he's going to play more inside, and that's going to be more of his role. The beauty is he can do both. But seeing the pass rush, and it doesn't, like, here's the positive caveat, I guess, the widening of the spectrum as pertaining to the pass rush. It doesn't matter when in the game against which Indianapolis Colts players are on the field. You've got to see production from the pass rush, even if it's in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes left. And the Cardinals pass rush, whoever is on the field at that point, is eating up the backups for the Colts offensive line. It doesn't matter. You got to see it in some form or fashion. It's got to happen. It doesn't have to be against the ones. Not exactly sure if Anthony Richardson is going to be in bubble wrap on the sidelines or what at this point, but it doesn't really matter. We need to see pass rush production from somebody on the Arizona Cardinals team who's playing on Saturday. And why I said it widens the spectrum and kind of broadens things. It's like, we just need to see it. We're a couple weeks away from the season, and you don't even know who your lead pass rusher is. And if the Cardinals want to win 5 games next year, their pass rush has to be better than it was last year. And it will be, because they've added depth in the interior of the defensive line, where if a pocket collapse from the interior, it makes it easier to get out on the edge. Like, everything is a chain reaction here. But you've got to see the pass rush show up. You've got to see it show up. You've got to see it show up. And then the cornerback room. I mean, this is what we're going to be discussing for the entirety of this. Trey Benson, I almost did Trey Benson here, but he's not RB1. So just like Marvin Harrison Jr., who won't be pass catcher 1 on the depth chart, with targets wise, right up from the onset, it's going to be Trey McBride. And it's going to be kind of a mishmash of whatever wide receivers are lining up in specific sets. But the cornerback room, which is directly correlated to wins and losses for the Cardinals more than any other position group, in my humblest of opinion, you got to see something. Max Melton didn't play last week. Sean Murphy Bunting, there are videos of him just getting blown by in joint practices. We need to see something. And I guess you can throw in Rabbit here, Dadrian Taylor Demison, who played well last week. We just got to see it. We've got to see some sort of positive momentum. And it's not momentum that is going to matter going into 2024 season come week 1. It's not. This is depth chart stuff. This is rookies getting their legs. This is, things like that, practice squad guys trying to make the practice squad, or, practice squad guys trying to make the 53-man roster. But with the biggest unknowns for this team going into 2024 being the pass rush and the cornerback room, and their direct correlation between the two. If they're both bad in 2024, it's going to be a long year. It's going to be a long year. It's going to be an uphill battle for the offense every single week. So getting closer to the season starting, it doesn't matter who produces. It doesn't. What if it's Darren Hall, who's a standout from last week, and say Max Melton plays and he overshadows Max Melton? Doesn't matter. Oh, he's a second round. Doesn't matter. You need to see production from the pass rush. You need to see production from the cornerback room, regardless of whose jersey name it's coming from. This is going to be by committee. And that committee needs to step it up starting tomorrow. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you Monday.